So,
And
uh,
here we are, Rick. We're recording. It's finally happening through technical
woohoo!
difficulties of being muted, unmuted, and frozen. The podcast gods were telling us no, but we said yes. We will
Send
not
it.
be
Send it.
Everybody, this is Rick Roman. Welcome to the podcast, sir. I'm excited to have you here because
Thank you, Brandon.
you have an amazing product that I want you to share not only with the audience, but the world, and get that product out there.
Yes. It's coffee. We love coffee. Coffee keeps us sane. Coffee keeps us motivated. Coffee keeps us awake to be able to endure and face all of the challenges of the day and life. And coffee is just awesome. It brings people together.
It really is. It's truly the nectar of the gods.
It is. I do believe so, and it unlike other fine spirits of the world, it is cultivated and labored from the minute that they plant the tree till the minute that you sip the cup. There is a lot of labor, love, and passion that goes into coffee. And, where can we go with this? Because we can really go so many places with all of this.
For us, what I think is what's crazy and what's interesting about your story is that, unfortunately, coffee is not what you've always done for a living until the pandemic hit. Could you tell us a bit more about your backstory and then what you did as a profession, and still will do as a profession, again, hopefully here very soon, and what led you to your company, Backstage Coffee Roasters?
Awesome. So here we go. I started working as a roadie, an audio technician, about 20 years ago. I'm aging myself now, unfortunately.
Sorry,
but so about 20 something years ago, 21 years ago, I went through a rough period in life where I was lost, and I went through a breakup, and that breakup made me reevaluate my path in life. And that path I had kind of pushed to the side because my mother, being a single parent, to me, raising a child, Mexicans, the family nucleus is so important, and mothers hold on to their kids so tightly. And so my mother said, I told my mother, I want to go to school in Arizona to study audio. And my mother said no. And that's the first time around. And then when I was a little bit older and went through a breakup, she told me no. And I said, well, I'm going to do it, but I want your blessing. And I was quite drunk when I said that. So I said, I'm doing it with or without you, but I prefer to do it with your blessing. And so my mom's like, okay, fine. If it means that much to you, go. And so I took off to Arizona, and I started down this path of music and audio. My love for music really did come when I was probably 7, 8 years old. A family member named Alex McIntyre, who I've kind of mimicked his steps in life. He gave me a Walkman, and in this Walkman was a mixtape of heavy metal music and rock and roll, and it was Metallica, Wasp, and one other band. And then he gave me a cassette of Kiss Destroyer.
Oh.
And so that literally changed my life right there, that gift of the Walkman and the 2 cassettes gave me, set me on the path of rock and roll. And, he is a sound engineer. And so eventually I kind of wanted to follow in his steps. And he was like a big brother to me from a distance. And so, flash forward till I was 20 years old, and I decided that I'm going to go to Arizona to study music. Came back, did the year in Arizona, came back to Chicago because I really wanted to make sure that I succeeded. I set myself up to succeed, and moving to LA and working in a recording studio in LA was not going to cut it. I wasn't going to be able to make it financially. So I moved back to Chicago. I worked for an awesome sound company that really beat the crap out of you and showed you the hard knocks of life and road. And the name of the sound company was DB Sound. And there's a lot of passionate people, a lot of great people that went through that company. That company did a lot of great tours: Aerosmith, Skid Row, Pantera, Metallica, the Black Album. They did the Stones, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Allman Brothers, Incubus, Deftones, Ministry. And so, these people that had gone through DB Sound really they were tough, man. They showed you how to really get down and do really great. They really pushed you to find your inner self, your inner passion for the gig. And they motivated you, not in probably the most productive, or how would we say, motivational ways. It's really knock down, drag out. But, the end result is you look back and you're like, oh, if I wouldn't have gone through that lesson, there's no way I would have appreciated it.
But it's those struggles
Now,
that you go through and those hard knocks and those rough patches that really bring you to where you are today. So you know how to deal with those type of situations and appreciate when things are a little smooth and a little easier. When some people may be bitching, you're like, dude, you have no idea.
not a clue. And so, I did the road for about 17 years, did plenty of tours. I've worked with some amazing people, amazing people. I've traveled all over the world 7 times over. And, the people that work in this industry, they are driven by passion. Passion for music, passion for wanting to give something to people unknowingly. I feel that people don't realize, there's on an arena tour, there could be 70 to 100 people running around with an arena tour. And all of those people leave family members at home, and they go and they sacrifice birthdays, births, deaths, funerals, Christmases, the whole 9 yards, anniversaries, to be able to give people an enjoyment. It's something that you can't really understand unless you're in it. And it's really awesome to have been part of that community. Unfortunately, because of COVID, everything is shut down and everything is hibernating until the day comes that we can open it all up and go back to doing what we love. I transitioned off of the road because I had a daughter, and she got to the age where she's like, okay, don't leave. And I'm like, oh man, okay, I can't leave now. She told me I can't leave anymore. That's it.
She's the boss, man. You got to stay home.
She's the boss. She told me.
You've lost a lot of memories along the way and events that you can't get back. So now, if you can, now's the time to stay home.
Totally. And
but
no, my daughter told me about. She's 8 years old. About 4 years ago, she's like, "That's it. You're done." And I knew, and you know what? I've been so very fortunate throughout all of my life where God and the universe have given me a path. They've literally, God has always blessed me with a path of where to go. He's dropped hints for me to follow. And, right now where I'm at is no exception. But my, my daughter told me it's time to get off the road. I felt like I had done what I needed to do. I was in a good place. An opportunity presented itself for me to get off the road and be able to stay at home for my daughter and be there for her. I had grown up in a single parent home. My mother was always working. And so I knew what it was like to not have a parent around all the time. I was raised by nannies. And so I didn't want that for my daughter. I wanted my daughter to.
Yeah. And there she is now.
I wanted my daughter to have me. Laundry out of the washer into the dryer, please.
But I'm still in school.
When you're done, thank you.
When I'm done?
Yes, please and thank
I'll
you.
just do it now.
That is absolutely, this has been the best interview so far. That is gold.
That was unscripted, unplanned. That was just perfect timing on her part.
Absolutely.
So, she directed the path. God also, gave me the opportunities to be able to shift out. And I was doing good. I was a project manager for this production company, and I was doing sales and production and operations and the whole 9 yards. And then COVID hit. And
this is the first time in your industry that you guys have been affected to this magnitude of something, right? I mean, you got like 12 million of you guys out of a job like that.
Yes, that is correct. 12 million, that encompasses everything and everyone from venue security guards and caterers and ticket ticket tellers and the whole 9 yards, bus drivers, production managers, production assistants, all of these people that, for the most part, they have tailored their lives to this industry, and then all of a sudden done. And so what do you do? Well, I know a bunch of guys that have pivoted into other industries completely out of ours, and they're selling homes, selling insurances, pizza drivers, Amazon drivers, so on and so forth. And it's what they have to do because they need to survive. Right. But it's not really what they want to do. They want to be out there on the road, bringing music to the people. And there's something to be said about when the lights go down and the arena just fills with the passion of people wanting to see a performance. Mm-hmm. The passion just comes out of them, and you can't help but be in an arena or a stadium and being surrounded by that and be affected by it.
It's almost like a drug for you guys in a way. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of headache, but then when there's hit the stage, you're helping create all of that out there that we people, right before we get too wasted to remember it, are having a great time before we pee off the balcony. And that's all because of you guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, it is a drug. It is totally a drug. I can tell you that I was in the middle of River Plate Stadium in 2009, 2010, possibly. And we were there with a band, and we were doing 3 nights or 4 nights, and we were filming this for a live DVD. And I go out, for the most part, I stay behind the scenes, but then I go out and listen to the PA during one song, because that's kind of that was kind of the benchmark song for me to listen to the PA and see what was going on and feel it. When you hear the opening riff, it's electric. And then when you have 80,000 people, 100,000 people, whatever it was, just unleashing that energy, you can't help but be in awe of what's going on. It's magic.
Experience, really and truly. If there's certain songs to this day that come on and I'm in the car by myself, there's the goosebumps, maybe the eyes water a little bit, and not in a sad way, but it's just this overwhelming sense of emotion, even joy. And there are songs that get to me that way, and I'm just couldn't be happier. Goosebumps.
Goosebumps.
So from there, how did you transition to coffee? Like that is not, obviously you guys always have to drink coffee to keep your asses awake, and performers went on stage, but have you always
that's awesome.
Coffee business?
No. So and that's funny because I just did another interview with someone and they asked me, so when did you get into coffee? And I'm like, man, when did I get into coffee? I can tell you where I had my first sip of espresso that kind of changed my thought process about coffee. I really didn't I didn't really put too much attention to coffee in that aspect, where it's like, oh, every morning got to drink a cup.
Yep.
But I was in Ottawa out on tour with a band, and I was walking on a day off and I ran into this coffee shop and I was like, man, I need a little pick me up. I'm not a coffee guy, but you know what? I'll check this out. They had a roaster in one corner and they sold the coffee in another, right there in the same space. And so I was talking to the person. He's like, oh yeah, try this. Tried it and it blew my mind. It was a shot of espresso. It was a double shot of espresso. And after that, it was it. That was it. There was never any turning back, because they roasted it there and they served it to you right there. And then you drank it right here. And it was as fresh as it could possibly be. It wasn't Starbucks or any other, coffee brand that coffee sits for weeks or months on end. It was a coffee that was literally roasted a day or two ago, and you're getting the freshest possible coffee. And so then that started my journey into coffee. And after that, I would explore coffee shops and coffee roasteries wherever I went. Turkish coffee, amazing, absolutely amazing. I don't recommend it for anybody who has a very fragile heart, because literally it will take you on a different journey. You're going to be able to accomplish in one day what you wouldn't do in a year, because Turkish coffee is so intense and strong.
So is it the caffeine quality or level of the Turkish coffee that makes it that way? Because now I love coffee, and now I want to try it, but I'm definitely have to take my heart medicine before I drink it.
So Turkish coffee, it's grounded. They use Arabica beans. They dark it. They roast it to a medium dark. And I could only go based off of the one experience that with the one coffee shop. I don't know it off the top of my head, but they find it very. They ground the coffee beans very finely, and what they do is they put it in an Arabic. And so I could show you, because I have all of the coffee tools here to make it. And it's almost like talcum powder fine.
Oh, wow.
And so you do two spoonfuls, and then you do maybe 3 or 4 ounces of water, and then you let it boil over, and then you can add sugar while it's cooking, and then you serve it whole with the grounds and all. And so you're not drinking the grounds, you're just drinking the top layer. You let it sit and settle, and then you drink up. But it is super, super potent. Like, it is super dark, super strong. It's awesome. It is really great. Um, then and then I've had other really great experiences where I've gone to other coffee shops and just tasted amazing cups of coffee. And I'm like, man, I really love. And again, it's where they're roasting right there and they're serving right there. It's not where they're roasting a million miles away and then you're drinking a cup of coffee. It's always been a coffee shop that has a roastery in it. And so I started exploring and I started wondering uh, what the magic is. And then I started diving into, coffee regions and different types of coffees from all over the world. And, I didn't want to drink the coffee that I would get on the bus. I didn't want to drink Starbucks.
Trying to get a little bit
It
of a
was like,
coffee snob. Look, you know what you like.
it's like a fine wine or a beer, you know? Some people like Pepsi, some people like Coke, some people like an RC. It's all good, man. To each their own. There's a coffee for everyone.
Your palate
And
was a little bit more refined to the coffee ground.
hey, I'm just here to tell you that you should try. Variety is the spice of life, and you should at least try it once. If it's not your cup of tea, if it's not your cup of coffee, that's fine.
Right.
You know what? But at least you try it, and you can say, "All right, on to the next one." Um, so I started roasting coffee probably in 2014, and I started roasting at home. I was on hiatus because I had injured myself, and I was like, "Okay, I got 6 months at home. So what am I going to do? I need a hobby." I started roasting. Um, I learned how to roast. I had a small little 200 gram coffee roaster. And then I went back out on the road and I'm like, oh, okay, I want to roast coffee out on the road. It's a crazy idea, right? Like, how am I going to roast coffee out on the road?
Right.
And so um, I ordered this little popcorn popper from a place called Sweet Maria's. And when you buy it, they send you can opt to buy in green coffee beans. And so I bought 8 pounds of green coffee beans. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this will last me 2 months. I literally went through it in about a month. And I started roasting coffee. I had the stuff shipped to the arena where we were sitting down for 2 weeks for production rehearsals for Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And I learned how to roast on a popcorn popper there and there, then and there.
Is that a traditional way to learn how to roast?
Popcorn poppers that's your beginner. There's popcorn poppers and there's like the Jiffy Pop poppers.
Yeah.
That's another way of learning how to roast as well. It's not frowned upon. It's just there used to be cowboys that would roast their own coffee beans on a fire pan.
Right.
And they still do that now to this day in certain parts of the world, So it doesn't matter how you get to the end result as long as you get the result that you want.
So now you got this little hobby. You take it on the road with you. You see that the 8 pounds isn't going to be enough. Now you're having stuff shipped to the arena where you know you're going to be. So at what point did people on the road that you work with, or maybe even guys from the band that you're working with, they start asking to try some of your coffee?
I don't know if anybody really. It's you work so hard and you're like, man. There's two parts to it, right? It's the artistry of coffee, and then there's the part of like, man, this is my coffee. I worked really hard for this coffee. It took me 30 minutes to roast this coffee. I don't want to just share it with anybody. And so there was points in time where I did share my coffee with other people. There was this. I was very fortunate enough to go on tour with Volbeat, and my Danish friends have such a deep love for coffee. They would literally go through about 3 pounds of coffee a day, and it was only 10 of us, by the way. 3 pounds of coffee.
That seems like a lot of coffee.
That's a lot of coffee. Like, we would literally go through 3 pounds of coffee between 10 of us, 3 pounds of coffee a day.
I don't know how you got anything done between drinking coffee and going to the bathroom.
it was it was it was a rush, man. We got a lot done. We got it done really fast, and then go to the bathroom, and then go back to getting more stuff done.
Efficiency.
Totally, you know. But they, I roasted some coffee, and it wasn't the best stuff because I was still learning. I was still in the infancy of it all, and then once I got off the road, I was able to sit down and actually really hone in my skills on the coffee roasting part. Uh, I bought a coffee roaster that was able to do a pound, and when I did that, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm getting better at this, and now I'm able to roast coffee that's going to last me a week and a half, and I could try different coffees from different parts of the world: Ethiopia, Guatemala, Colombia, Mexico, Kenya, Sumatra, New Guinea, Java, and Tanzanian peaberry. Wow! So I started exploring the different regions of the world, 1 pound at a time, and I kept, my method there has never been any true method to my madness. I've always kind of just let it all be kind of a happy surprise. Sometimes I would do a killer job on a coffee, and then sometimes I wouldn't. And it's all trial and error. Every bean wants to be roasted differently. Every bean needs something a little bit different as far as flame and air and how you roast it. Every bean requires something different of you in the roasting process, as opposed to, it's not just a cookie cutter where it's like, oh, put it at 400, 10 minutes and done. That's not the case. Some beans want to be cooked differently to get certain flavors out of them. With getting off the road and being able to sit at home and really focus in on the craft, I started exploring. And then, I really didn't mean for this to be a business. I was very fortunate enough where I was in the same office with a person who loved coffee as much as I did. My coworker, Jimmy, in the production company that we were in, we had always talked about coffee all the time. He loved it. I loved it. He would try new coffees. I would roast new coffees. He wouldn't want to try my coffee because my coffee was so strong. I had a guy named Brent Dannon who I gave him a cup of my coffee, and he's like, man, that stuff goes through me and cleans me out. I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He's like, it's a great thing because no other coffee can do this for me. So I guess that's a good thing. But it was really strong coffee. It was really, really strong coffee because it was freshly roasted. It wasn't something that sat on the shelf for a week or two, or a month or 5 months. It was something that really got roasted within, 48 to a week. And I was grinding it right before I was preparing it. And then I was preparing it, and then I was serving it to you right away. So you had the freshest possible cup of coffee that I can get you.
You're going from bean to cup instead of farm to table, bean to cup.
Bean to cup. And I was, and that was the thing, right? I wanted the freshest cup of coffee. That's what I wanted. And that's why I did this, because there's a lot of good roasters out there and they have good products, but I wanted the freshest possible cup, and I wanted to be able to explore. And I also didn't want it to cost me an exorbitant amount, right? There's coffee vendors that sell their bags for $20, $22, $25 for 12 ounces, 8 ounces. There's a bag of Jamaican blue coffee that goes for $35 for 8 ounces. A pound goes for $75.
So an 8 ounces of ground coffee would make how many cups of coffee?
It all depends. It depends on how strong you like your coffee, man. I think it can make up to 4, 5, 6, 8. depending, it depends on how heavy your hand is.
Sure.
Just like the bartender, if you have a heavy hand with the scoop, it's gonna be a lot less. So it really is about what you like and how heavy your hand is with it. Um, it's usually 16 grams for a 6 ounce cup,
Okay.
roughly ish,
Yeah.
6 to 8 ounce. 16 grams gives you an 8 ounce cup, roughly.
So did you and Jimmy just sit down one day pre-COVID or post-COVID when it started and go, you know what, this is it. Let's do this. Or were you kind of already doing your coffee thing prior to?
No, no, not at all. We actually uh, we talked about coffee so much. Every day we would, stop and say, "Hey, man, I need a cup of coffee. Let's go get a cup of coffee." So we would both go get a cup of coffee, and uh, my old boss, uh, he graced us with an amazing coffee machine after like I need a coffee machine and I need a good coffee machine, not this cheap crappy thing that you gave me. And he finally bought me a really great coffee machine, and then COVID hit. So I only enjoyed that coffee machine for 2 months, but we gravitated around this coffee machine, and um, we had talked about eventually opening up a coffee shop, and it was like, oh, we're gonna do a coffee shop, and it's gonna be great. And um, then COVID hit, and we sat down for months, and we went through some rough patches. I know he did, and I did, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do in life and what was next. Um, I went through a really, really rough patch where I was just like pretty lost, and I didn't have a direction because I am driven by passion of what I want to do and not by other external things. You know, I don't look for the financial reward. I hate to say that, but I don't. I really look for what's going to really satisfy my heart and my soul more so than anything else. Um, I used to sell fruit at a market when I was 12 years old, and I did that for 2, 3 years. And uh, I loved going out there and selling fruit and interacting with people. And the pay was good, but I really didn't pay too much attention because I was 12 years old. Whatever they paid me was good. I just loved getting out there on a Sunday and getting some sun and a box of fruit and some cash and talking to little old ladies and selling them fruit. And that was good. That,
Yeah,
that worked for me. I was 12 years old. I made $80. Life is great.
and you had fun.
And I had fun. And so the same thing happened when this came around. It's like, what are we going to do? I went through my dark period, and I'm not I'm a religious person, and I'm a spiritual person. And I was sitting down on the couch, and it was midsummer last summer, and I was just kind of like on a I reached out to God and I said, okay, I need some direction, and I need you to like drop the hint. I need you to drop the hint. I need you to pave the road. I need you to light the fire. I need a sign of what I'm going to do next. And so
And not a
I was
subtle
sitting on the couch.
blinking arrow like this is it.
Yeah,
Not a subtle.
I need you to just like, I need you to just the neon sign, the biggest neon sign you could pull out, bust it out. Let's do it. And so I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and it was me talking to God. And um, again, I'm not super religious, but there's times where I've always had, from my background, I've always had a religion instilled in me. And so in those times, you just talk to God. I could always talk to God, but and I do, but that time I was like, all right, I need it. And so uh, the part that I haven't told you is that 250-pound bags of coffee fell on someone's dock. That person called me up and said, "Hey, we have these 250-pound bags of green bean coffee. FedEx won't take them back. We know you roast coffee at home. Would you like them? And I said, yes. Put them in my trunk, brought them home. They sat right by my door for 2 weeks, and I really didn't do anything about it. And I didn't think too much about it until 2 weeks after. Then I, had the conversation with God. And then after that, I was like, oh, I was looking at the TV, looking at my daughter, and then I looked at those 2 bags of 50 pounds of green coffee. And I'm like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I did it. Sorry, the little boss. The little boss.
It's one of those.
And so,
and you're looking, and you're waiting for this, and you're looking at your daughter. You're looking around. It's like it's been looking at you for 2 weeks.
It has, but I think that you need that. I think you need to hit that low point, right? Yeah. To really demystify all of the other stuff, right? To just, do I go down this path? Do I go and down this path? And, I reached out to Jimmy and I said, hey man, I came across this coffee. What should we do? Let's do something. And so he was a month or two behind in the feeling process of everything that was going on. And I'm like, I got to do this. So I roasted 25 pounds and I sold them. And it was like, oh, I could actually do this. I could actually sell coffee to my friends. And I did, but I'm like, I don't want to do this alone. I feel like anything really good in life, you need a partnership. You need someone that'll have your back. And Jimmy was the obvious choice because he and I had this love for coffee. I really didn't even entertain anyone else. I really didn't care to. And it never even for a second dawned on me to even think of anyone else. I think that, you find the right person to team up with, and then you're just like, there's nobody else that could be this person that I'm going to do this journey with, right? And so I had to wait because he was going through his thing, and I had to be patient. I had already gone through some of it, and through my dark moments and whatnot, and I needed to be patient. And then finally, 2 months after that coffee conversation with God, Jimmy calls me and he's like, okay, dude, I'm ready now. I went through, I was worried. I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to get him to come on board, but he called me back and he's like, all right, dude, I know you gave me my space. And now I'm telling you, you don't need to give me any more space. I'm ready to go. And so I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Let's get it. And so we, I can't roast all of this coffee on my little 1 pound machine. So I sought out a person who can let us use their roaster. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful machine. It's a 37-year-old coffee roaster. She's finicky, but you know what? She's just like a nice old Corvette. You just got to give it love, and it'll love you back.
That's right.
And so we roast on this machine, and in fact, I'm going to have to go roast in about an hour or so, and it's awesome. It's God, the universe, whomever you believe in, have really given me all of these opportunities to be able to go down this path with coffee. What are the chances of 250-pound bags falling on someone's lap and them saying, hey, this is for you? And that kind of setting the direction for this coffee company to be built. That that doesn't just happen.
No.
That's that's divine intervention, I feel. And so I'm very fortunate that all of the stars have aligned up until now. We've gone through some hiccups. We've gone through, you know, uh, differences, Jimmy and I.
Sure. I mean,
But I
growing
think that's
pains with any new business, of course.
definitely, and I think that it only makes it better because you realize that that person's all in. That person is all in, and they want to give their best, and they want you to give your best, and they drive you to up your game. I don't want to fail him. He's my partner. He believes in this as much as I do. And, you know, he has invested a lot of heart, time, soul, passion. Uh, Aside from the financial aspect, just the time and effort and passion and dedication that he's put into it is amazing. The bags that we've designed, he and I have gone through many variations of bags, the designs, same difference, the logo,
Yeah, so I was going to ask you
hours
about that. How did you guys come up with the name?
back. So we had about 20 different names that we all wrote down, and we just searched the internet and see what was taken and what wasn't. And then, I'm like, Backstage Coffee Roasters. Like, I started roasting coffee backstage. And I don't know if he believed me at the moment in time. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But I'm like, yeah, man, I started roasting coffee 7 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it was. And I started doing it backstage, while I was out on tour. And, to me, that made sense. But it also encompassed a lot of, and maybe I didn't even know it at the time, when I don't know who threw out the name, whether it was him or I, because we literally sat at his place and we started throwing down names and writing them all down. And that's kind of the one that we kind of kept going back to, because it encompassed everything. It encompassed roadies, it encompassed music, it encompassed a tour, it encompassed the backstage, the heart of a show.
Yeah.
So and really, I also feel like it really gives a light. It shines a light on the people in our industry that are behind the scenes and that are hurting right now. Uh, Me and Jimmy are products of that at this moment in time, but there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of other people just like us, if not millions, that are out of work and that are trying to find their way in this day and age, and they're trying to realize what their path is. And those people always lived behind the scenes,
Mhm.
and now they have to shift because we have always lived behind the scenes and we never had the spotlight put on us. Mind you, we didn't want it.
Right.
I think everybody that works in this industry does not care to be down center. They care to be behind the scenes. They want to be the engine to the Corvette. They don't necessarily want to be the Corvette. They just want to be part of the Corvette. They want to be the ones that are driving this. And so
Yes.
it really, that's where the name came from, Backstage. It's just the heart of the show is backstage. Everything happens backstage. When you're loading out, you're loading out through the backstage area. When you're loading in, you're loading in. So much of it happens in the backstage area. So, uh, you know, I think that's, looking back at it now, I think that name, that's where it kind of came from, and that's where, uh, I think for me, that's kind of what it's evolving to. The heart of a show happens in the backstage area.
Well, I think one thing's for sure, that we've learned from this interview, everything you do, there's passion behind it. And even with the name, and how you describe it, why it makes sense and why it's the best name for your coffee is the passion behind it. All
Yeah,
those ingredients come together to form something beautiful and delicious. Because I have drank your coffee and I like it. Unfortunately, I drank it all. Otherwise, I'd be sipping on it right now. Well,
sorry.
I know you got to go roast here shortly, so I'm going to fire off a couple questions for you here real quick. But before we jump into that, so you guys formed a company and then you started shipping coffee. How long have you guys been shipping your coffee across the country?
It's December 10th.
December 10th.
December 10th, I think,
Okay,
is
so
the
you
week
guys
that
are
we
like a
launched.
baby company.
We're in our infancy. We're in our infancy.
So
We're so
right.
we're in our infancy.
So speaking of being a baby or infancy, I was thinking about this earlier when you were saying like you took all this time to roast this coffee and you didn't want anybody else to drink it. And now, because it's yours, you got all this passion behind it. And now you're making this coffee and you're distributing it across the country. And it makes me wonder too, like, was there a sense of nervousness since this is your passion? It is your baby.
Oh,
but no one wants to be told that their baby's ugly. You
totally.
know what I mean? So were you afraid of rejection of like, I love my coffee, but everyone else thinks it's crap, but it's not.
So there's maybe 2 or 3 ways that I look at it. I try to not think about it that way. Bless you. I try not to think of it that way because then it might hit me and I might get really nervous.
Don't be nervous.
I went to college and I went to college and I studied photography. I don't think I was good at it, but someone said that I was, and they said, well, you should sell your photography. And I'm like, no, the photography is for me. Right. I don't want to share it because it's mine and it's my thing. And I don't want to be criticized by it. So the artistic side of me doesn't want to be criticized because roasting coffee is very much an artistic thing in a way, especially when you're dealing with an older roaster, because it's really you calling the shot. It's you pulling the trigger on when the coffee is going to get released, and you have to make sure that it's there. So if you over roast it, it's on you. If you under roast it, it's on you. And I didn't want to open myself up for criticism, but at some point you kind of just got to be like, you know what? It doesn't matter what the world thinks, because guess what? At the end of the day, I have people that do believe in it and do love it and do want to drink it, and that's good enough for me. And that should be, if you think of all of these successful people that have reached amazing heights, do they let the criticism of their critics haunt them, or do they just disregard? And so I have to disregard. I have to put the criticism aside. Not our cup of coffee is not for everyone. I get that, and I'm okay with that. If you like a French roast, we're not your company. If you like a Viennese roast, we're not your company. If you want flavored coffee, we're not your company. I get it, and I'm okay with that. But I think that we have a really amazing product that I think is for a lot of people. I think that you can find something within the 3 offerings that we have, and hopefully eventually we'll have 4, 5, and 6 that will be for your taste buds. And what I do want people to know is that we're going to put a lot of passion and hard work into making sure that we do give you the best cup of coffee possible. We cupped tens of coffees, probably 45 coffees that Jimmy and I cupped. And then I personally cupped another 20, 30 cups of coffee before we finally chose and narrowed it down to those 3 cups of coffee. We wanted a 4th one, but we couldn't make it happen because the distributor that we were going to use, they didn't have a good Ethiopian coffee. Like, man, I really was bummed about that. But then I said, you know what? I'm not going to put out a mediocre product. And Jimmy was, of course, he said that. He reiterated that statement too. And so we were both in agreement, like, we're not going to do it. For as much as I want an Ethiopian cup of coffee, because I tend to favor Ethiopian cups of coffee. I really love Ethiopia as a coffee producer.
2 of my questions without even me having to ask them. One was going to be, how did you guys sample taste? You went through your own coffees. That's how you came to your, I'm going to call your 3 blends. Probably the wrong term to call it. But and then if you could add a fourth, what would your fourth be? And it'd be Ethiopian.
It would be Ethiopian. I personally love Ethiopian coffees. Jimmy is Jimmy because Jimmy toured Central and South America heavily with his artist. He would taste the flavors of those countries, so he has an affinity for those countries. I traveled the world, and I always kept gravitating towards Ethiopian coffees. Ethiopian coffee is a very complex coffee, and I just loved it. I've always loved it. Depending on who's roasting it and where you're getting it from, and what region in Ethiopia or what farmer, lemon zest, spice, chocolate. There's just so many different flavors that come with an Ethiopian coffee.
And you can
That
taste
at least,
it when you drink it. You can get
I'm
those
sorry.
you can get those flavors, those different hints of that stuff when you're drinking it.
Yes, yes. If it's roasted properly and if it's prepared properly, yes, you definitely can. It's like a good wine. Wine, you may not taste as many complex flavors, but I was reading somewhere coffee has something like 1,000 plus different types of
Yes.
flavors. And obviously, it's not one cup of coffee. It's like the whole spectrum of coffees from all around the world it encompasses hundreds, if not 1,000 different flavors. So, it all depends on the coffee, the region, the roast, the prepare of how it's prepared. All of that plays into your final cup.
So right now, you guys out of the 50 states. You guys in just 10 weeks' time have shipped to how many different states?
We've just crossed into 29 states,
Damn.
and we've gotten offers to. We've had people contact us from Denmark to want us to ship coffee to them. I think they don't realize that the shipping bill is going to be way more expensive than the coffee.
But it's worth it.
I looked at the for 15 pounds of coffee or 15 bags of coffee. I think it costs like $300 to ship to Denmark. Yeah, and so I still have to answer that email to that person. I'm like, if you really want us to ship you our coffee, I will do it, but just know that it's going to cost you more for the shipping than the coffee. Got no problem. And I can't guarantee that it'll get there.
Especially, in a timely manner. So if you're on the road outside of your own coffee, what's the best coffee shop in the US that you've been to? That you
Man, I've had so many good ones, but one of the most monumental ones for me was Elemental Coffee in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Elemental Coffee for me. I mean, I went in there and I was day off and I went to the bar and I sat and I had an amazing cup of coffee. And again, it was roasted right there, served right here. And that kind of changed it for me because then I was like, oh, I want to learn how to roast. I want to know how this happens, right? How you turn a green bean into this, because I've never had a cup of coffee like that, right? And that was I've had cups of coffee, obviously from Ottawa till that point. I've had many hundreds of cups of coffee, but then that one was transformative for me because it tasted like a wine. It was so complex in flavor, and it was, she was telling me as she was preparing it for me, she was telling me what I was going to taste, and she was telling me, give it a second, wait. Okay, now you can go ahead and drink it. And I'm like, really? Is it all that? And she's like, yeah, watch, boom, mind blown. And then I went for like a 4-hour walk. And I was like, man, this is an amazing world.
New drug, coffee.
It is. And it's exactly like that. I think a really amazing cup of coffee will open your senses. And it really did it for me. That cup of coffee really did it for me. I can't tell you exactly everything that I did that day, but I can tell you I went to a pizza shop that I walked 2 miles away because I was walking through Old Town and then the hip side of Oklahoma City and then back around. And then I went through the Oklahoma City bombing monument. And then I ended up back at the hotel like around 9 o'clock at night. And I had that cup of coffee around 3. And I was like so wired, but I was so alert, and everything was very awesome. I was just taking the day in. And I think that cup of coffee really opened my day up.
If I'm ever in Oklahoma City, I'm going there.
It's, you know what? We do have a great cup of coffee. I think we do have really great beans, but there's a ton of great coffee companies out there. Again, variety is the spice of life. And I think that, you'd be silly to think that you're the only one that can, do it great. There's so many people out there that are doing really great justice to coffees. One thing that we did when we were searching for our coffee was we wanted it to be beneficial to the farmers, first and foremost. I think that if the farmers are benefiting, then they're going to give you a good crop. They're going to raise good crops, and they're going to produce good coffee year after year. That was very important for us, that we were supporting a good coffee vendor, a good farmer. We wanted our coffees to be produced by women. There's the Guatemalan, if I'm correct, is produced by women, and they are getting paid a very fair wage for that coffee. It had to be single origin. We wanted it to be fair trade organic. So we had all of this criteria. Now, this criteria doesn't follow through for all of the countries and all of the origins, but we wanted it to be beneficial from you to us to the farmer. All the way around, we wanted everybody to win. And then we partnered up with a roadie clinic. When we were going through dire straits, we didn't have something or someone to lean on. The roadie clinic happened to be an organization that's coming up, that's being built, that's going to be there for the road staff, and help them along the way. Because I think, roadies, again, have been forgotten in a lot of the conversations that are happening nowadays. And so there's a lot of people that are struggling in many, many ways. I am very fortunate. I'm very fortunate because I have a very supportive group of people around me. But there are people that are not as fortunate as I am. And so for those people, hopefully they can reach out to an organization like the Roadie Clinic for help, whether it's mental, emotional, or what have you, or substance abuse, whatever the case may be. The Roadie Clinic is going to be there for them on and off the road. And I hope that people at least check out their website and the roadieclinic.com to see what they're about.
.com, because we'll put it on the website.
The roadieclinic.com. Paul and Courtney started this because they want to help people out. And it's when we started this company, Jimmy had his list of what he wanted this company to do, and I had my list. And one of them was we wanted to find a charitable cause to donate to. And after many conversations and much back and forth, Jimmy and I both agreed on the Roadie Clinic because we felt like what they were doing is not only beneficial for now, but it's going to be beneficial for the road staff well into the future. And that really,
this isn't just now. This is for.
It's not just now. It's not just now. And our industry has needed a support system like this forever.
Yep.
Forever. Our industry has been plagued with a lot of, not so favorable things.
Sure.
Right. But what business hasn't, right? But those people go home after doing a 6-month tour, 9-month tour, and they go home for 3 weeks, and then they feel lost because they don't know the transition of road life to home life. And the Roadie Clinic
It's hard
kind
to
of helps you with that.
transition, right? It's hard to transition. It's almost like you're a stranger in your own home, and your
Oh,
family is not your friends like you on the road, man. Sharing a tour bus with you for 4 to 6 months, your family, and now you come back home, and it's just this weird transition period. You know?
you don't even realize it. Even transitioning off the road completely, right? When I transitioned off the road and into a home life, it was so hard. It took me literally 2-3 years to actually kind of get a groove of like, oh, what am I supposed to really be doing here at home? Like I feel so lost. I feel so lost. And so, you know, places like the Roadie Clinic will give you the resources to be able to live a productive home life as well as a productive road life. And now it's not the be all and end all answer, but at least it gives you a starting point and and it gives you the people and the support system to have those conversations of like, hey, how do I balance home and road life? Because that is something that nobody can teach you, and that you have to actually just have conversations of like, man, you know, I live in this bubble for 3, 6, 9, maybe even 2 years, right? 3, 6, 9 months. Maybe sometimes you're doing a world tour and that's a 2-year world tour. And you go out for 6 months at a time, come home for 2 weeks, go out for 6 months at a time, home for 2 weeks. And so, how does that impact your psyche and your relationships? So many breakups because you're in and out, and you're so disconnected from home life. So the Roadie Clinic will have resources available to be able to help you bridge that gap,
Right.
you know?
I think.
And some people don't need it. Some people know how to balance and juggle it all perfectly.
Yeah, but they're a rare.
Awesome.
Yeah, good for them. But there's more folks who have that transition. That one of the big takeaways, obviously, from this conversation is how you guys have been able to take a bad situation, marinate on it for a little bit, create something positive. But yet, this roadie clinic is something that's going to be awesome because I think, like you said, everyone that makes a show happen is behind the scenes, and that's where they want to be. But they're also behind the scenes and they're hurting. Okay, they battle addiction too.
Totally.
They battle depression too. So there has to be something for these folks to an outlet, a program. Something. I've interviewed lots of different people, and even some of our veterans that are here in town. There's a reboot program, but it's not just for them. It's for first responders, paramedics, police officers, firemen, because you run into these awful situations and see these horrific things, and you got to turn it off to go to the next call, to go see the next patient, to go do this and that. So something like this for folks who are out on the road, bringing us joy and entertaining us, need to have something as well. I know you got to run, but a couple quick things here. Of all the musicians you've worked with, is there one that stands out as a coffee fanatic like yourself?
I don't know if there's anybody. No, not coffee fanatics. Tea fanatics, yes. Coffee fanatics, no.
Okay.
I haven't had the pleasure. I thought you were going to ask me a different question. I thought who was my favorite or who, something like that.
I'll get there.
So next question.
Tea fanatic.
Who's the tea fanatic? AC/DC.
Really?
AC/DC.
I love their new album.
Cigarettes and tea.
Cigarettes and tea.
Cigarettes and tea.
What's more, that I understand. That I get. Speaking of AC/DC, my little 4-year-old son Dempsey on the way to daycare right now. He has to hear Thunderstruck on the way. So if nothing else I'm doing right in life, I think that's it.
Awesome. Hey, next time you order a bag of coffee, let me know.
Yeah.
I have some AC/DC picks.
Okay, done. Real quick too. What advice would you give to those young roasters out there?
I don't know if I have any advice. I'm nowhere near at the point to be able to give advice. Well, yeah. I think that you have to, okay, here's what I would say. Study geography, study physics, study social science, because all of those things are actually very important to coffee. Chemistry. And you don't realize it. You're thinking, oh, coffee. No. the social science aspect of it. People that coffee comes from so many different parts of the world, and so that is the social aspect of it, right? How many people touch your coffee before you drink it? There's the farmers, the wholesale buyers, the shippers, then the shippers on this side, then the wholesale buyers on this side, and the warehouse worker, the trucker, then the coffee buyer, the coffee roaster, then the coffee preparer. Coffee probably touches 10 hands before it comes to you. And everybody's trying to get a piece of the pie.
It reminds me a lot
or
of cigars.
or
I had a cigar connoisseur, aficionado come on the show, tobacconologist, and it's literally very similar to all the people who touch that tobacco or have something to do with it before you enjoy that smoke.
The social science, the social aspects of it, all of those aspects, they're so important, and I think that people need to realize that coffee is not just it's just not something that you just drink. It really has a deeper effect. I could go on and on and on, and I'm still learning. I'm at the very, very infantile stage of learning everything about coffee, and so to me to tell you, oh well, I know this and this and this, zero I have zero clue of coffee in the grand scheme of things compared to other people that have so much more knowledge. And as I'm going along, it just teaches me that I have so much more to learn.
So how can oh, that is awesome. Yes, I'm going to order it today. Do I need to put like code in? As soon as you got the phone, I'm going to order it. So
I've been very blessed to be able to work with people that have been very kind to me, and be able to give me, the really quick. I don't like to name drop tours or artists,
sure.
Because I just, that goes back to like behind the scenes.
Right.
You're there to get the job done, not really there to take the limelight. But I've been very blessed to be able to work with some amazing artists, and the artists are good and they're awesome and I respect them. But the people that work for them, the production managers, the stage managers, the backline techs, the LD, the lighting technicians, the carpenters, the stage managers, the audio technicians, everybody, the video technicians, everybody, some of the most amazing, most talented, most hardworking people in the world are in our industry. And some of them have the biggest hearts. I could rattle off names, but it wouldn't do any justice to the ones that I didn't rattle off. So every day there's something that reminds me of a tour, and when I'm reminded of the tour, I'm reminded of the people on that tour, and how much I have been so blessed to be able to work in this industry and to meet these people that that have enriched my life so amazingly. And some of them are not with us anymore, but the ones that have a very deep part in my heart, and I'm so blessed by it that I can't help it. I can't help but be moved by that. Jeff Bison, he was Mal's tech. Freaking heart of gold. I love Bison. Takumi, Dicky, those guys, just some amazing people. I've been so blessed, and I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at, and to be able to do what I'm doing. Again, I've been blessed because God's just given me this path to be able to do coffee and to bring coffee to people. If it's not their cup of coffee, that's good. I'm glad that they gave us a try, and hopefully, if it's not for them, it's for someone that they know. But I hope that I'm able to do good for them as I've had people around me do good for me. Man, when you get into conversation like this, you can't help but want to say thank you to so many people, because you wouldn't be the person you are without them touching your lives. um Opie, Kenny, Check, Pab, you know, everybody on TSO, all of those guys. God, Omar Abraham. I never say his name properly, but Omar from Jennifer Lopez. Just, I mean, I could go on and on and on. And I've been so blessed to have so many people with such an amazing work ethics and so much passion for what they do translate into me, to me want to be able to do good by what I'm doing, but not only for what I'm doing, but for the people around me, right? You're only as good as your last gig. You're only, and your name is worth everything in this business. Those two things are pretty, if you talk to a road person, they'll tell you you're only as good as your last gig, and your name is worth everything in this business. And so we're trying to build a good name for us. We're trying to do good with every cup of coffee and with every roast, because we're only as good as our last roast.
Well, dude, I'm telling you what, you're successful in the audio business, and you can see that passion that you have for it, and it's just going to spill in, no pun intended, into the coffee, and and you can taste it in the coffee. So the world is your oyster, my friend, when it comes to coffee, and I have no doubts that you guys are going to be successful and touch a lot of people. And it'd be awesome if all these tours, once we start back, everyone is drinking Backstage Coffee Roasters coffee.
You know what? If they are, we're blessed, and if they're not, just the fact that they mention our name is good enough for me. I'm so blessed. I've been so blessed, and even after the road, I've been so blessed. I met Bo after the road, and he and I grew a friendship and a relationship, and I love Bo to death. I've had my differences with Bo, but I think that in the end, like any good relationship, you need a little bit of difference to make it grow.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
He's a great human.
He is, and so I've been blessed with people like him, and just man, I can go on and on and on of so many great people that I have in my life and that I've had in my life, and the great support system. Even when I don't realize it, it's there. I just need to tap into it. Jimmy is. I couldn't be blessed to have a better partner, man. Who's equally as passionate about wanting to do awesome by coffee.
So how can folks who listen to this podcast, when this is over, how can they order their bag of Backstage Coffee Roasters?
backstagecoffeeroasters.com. I'm sorry that it's a long name, but it has to be that way. It has to be. Anything worth doing is you got to work for it.
100%.
If it's good. Backstagecoffeeroasters.com.
Are you guys on Facebook?
We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We're on those two social medias. We're not on Twitter, because I don't think that we're there yet. Jimmy controls certain aspects. I control others, right? He's the heart. He is the brains. I am the heart. He's methodical, and he's coming up with ways to present the best product and get it out there to people and let people know about us. And I'm like, I want you to have an amazing cup of coffee.
Well, we're going to help get this message out there, and thank you for everything you're doing. And the Roadie Clinic sounds awesome. I'll put the roadieclinic.com on everything too in the descriptions, so folks can take a look at it. And thank you so much for willing to come on the little show here and help spread the word for us, and we're going to help spread the word for you, man.
Thank you for having me, man. I know we ran into some technical difficulties and we ran a little bit over, but thank you for your time. Thank you for having me on. I can't tell you what this means to me to have these kind of conversations, because sometimes I don't realize how blessed I am until I have these conversations, and then just think of like, oh man, I've done this, I've done that, and I'm like, oh, you know what? it's been a really good life.
You know,
It's been
we all need to take a little time out and reflect and what a great ride we've had.
we have, man. We have. It's been a very trying year, but you know, the 2020 lemons should be 2021 coffee. And if anything, it really makes you search and see what's really important in life. Um, Being able to just sit down and actually, I have people sit down and reflect on however many years that they've done on the touring side, 20 years. And now you're finally now you're forced to sit down and reflect and be like, okay, what have I done? And is it all for nothing? No, it's not. You know what? You've done a lot. You've done really great. And now it's time for you to go and do great on something else, possibly, until our industry comes back. And then you can pivot back in. But you know what? The work ethic, the ingenuity, the brilliant people, the smarts, all of that, all the cleverness, all of that these people have can be used by other aspects of businesses. By other businesses can use all of this ingenuity that these people have. And what scares me is that once companies realize how much passion, ingenuity, how much dedication all of these people have, they're not going to want to let them come back into our industry because they're going to be so valuable in these other industries. So our industry needs to value our people, because our people, they're just awesome. They're really awesome. I can't tell you how amazing.
If they do capture some of those folks, it maybe opens up the door for a younger generation that are just as passionate and gives them an opportunity to grow.
It does, but you need that gap. You need those people to hold the hand of the younger. You really do. You can't just send someone in blind into a room and say, hey, figure it out. You kind of need someone to show them the path. I've had many great engineers that have showed me the path. Jim Regis, Dave Dixon, Andy Satil, God rest his soul. Andy was a great teacher and mentor, and so many other people, right? These guys that have come way before me, Billy Kurtz, Bill Head, all of these guys that came before me and that have showed me the ropes and that really showed me the path of how to be, and it's not just about like, okay, here's what you got to do. No, like, this is the way it's done, and holding the standard high, because, when you see a show, it's because the standard is held high, and we can't forget that. You can't, a generation skip that standard because we want to get them out there quick. No, it has to be instilled into them that this is the way it is, and this is the only way that it happens.
Well, Rick, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Everybody, go to backstagecoffeeroasters.com. Go ahead and order your bags of coffee now. If you don't want it, order it for your mom, order it for your friends, or for your dad, or for your brother. Just go and order. You won't be disappointed.
Thank you. Thank you all. And next time, let's talk about more music.
We will. There will be a next time, my friend. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Look at all those CDs that we got to talk about.
Oh, that's gonna be a great one. Thanks, man. Enjoyed it. Take care, Rick.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
Backstage Coffee Roasters, ladies and gentlemen. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.